So I think, if you think about automotive, whether it's four wheelers, two wheelers, I don't think it matters. Every time there's a big ticket purchase that happens in a household, I think women have a huge influence, in the decision making process. So as companies, if automakers are not taking that into account, right, it'll be a huge miss in appealing to 50% of the decision making population. I'm not the official spokesperson, so I'm not going to talk about that specifically. But what I can tell you is I'm a pretty open networker. I mentor a lot of people through the Society of Women Engineers, through Automotive Women's Alliance Foundation.
Driving innovation, inspiring leadership, and paving the way for sustainable future in the automotive industry is something that Ashwini is very passionate about. Let's welcome Ashwini on 10 Minutes of Hiring Wisdom, where she will tell us what's her role in currently at Harley-Davidson Motor Company and what she has learned along the way. Hi Ashwini, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I am doing well. So let's get into it. Can you tell us more about your role as the General Manager of Advanced Engineering at a Harley Davidson Motor Company? What are some of the key innovations and projects that you've been involved in so far?
So I can't divulge the details, obviously, because of confidentiality. But what I can tell you is it's an amazing opportunity to be part of such an iconic company, and I have responsibility for all of our advanced engineering, which includes everything from testing, simulation and innovation and materials engineering. So it's an amazing role, but I think. Um, my journey in automotive was probably the big foundational piece of my career that has led me to where I am today.
No, that makes sense. Specifically, as a woman leader, coming into a field like this, specifically in an industry like this that is mostly dominated by men, and then being in a field that's mostly dominated by men must be very intimidating. But you paved your way up the ladder. You really believed in yourself, and you left your mark. So thank you for sharing that. My next question, Ashwini, for you would be: Is you've spoken at various events on topics like diversity, leadership, and sustainability. What do you believe are the most significant challenges and opportunities for women in the automotive sector today?
So I think, if you think about automotive, whether it's four wheelers, two wheelers, I don't think it matters. Every time there's a big ticket purchase that happens in a household, I think women have a huge influence, in the decision making process. So as companies, if automakers are not taking that into account, right, it'll be a huge miss in appealing to 50% of the decision making population, right? So I think on top of this is the right thing to do, this is out of goodwill, I think it makes a lot of business sense. It is good for business to be able to reach out and understand and make products that don't restrict yourself to a certain demographic, to a certain population, right? So I think it makes good business sense to increase the pie of your revenue by making sure it appeals to everybody that is involved in the decision making process. In order to do that effectively, you need a diverse workforce, right? Without a diverse workforce, you can't understand the needs of a diverse demographic. So, what I'm trying to say is a diverse demographic is not just a nice to have, it's mandatory to have if you want to expand your business and consistently keep on the radar or keep on the sales map in order to be sustainable as a company for longer term.
I think that's very important. I do agree with that. Follow-up question for that would be is you did mention that it's not exactly something that's nice to have, but it should be mandatory. Can you maybe tell us some of the advancements that you've seen specifically that have been made in your current company or your previous companies regarding DEI specifically?
Yeah, so I can talk about it in general as an industry, right? So, what I have seen is, say, if we rewind the time to say a decade ago, there was no talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. You sucked it up and you moved on, with whatever was happening in the workforce. But I think the open talk today, fast forward 10 years, the open talk today about diversity, the need for a diverse workforce, understanding the teams that you're leading, I think is a huge step forward, right? But we aren't where we need to be. I think we truly will arrive when we don't ever have a need to even talk about diversity in the workplace. That it has become so organic that that's how we operate, right? That's how we hire, that's how we retain, that's how we reward, is to make sure that we keep the diversity lens on. And again, diversity for the sake of diversity doesn't give you progress, right? So I don't, I'm not a big fan of reservation or quotas and things like that, because I think you still need the best candidate for the job. But if you don't have a diverse pool of candidates, you can't assume you're getting the best candidate for the job. So I think the industry has come quite a bit forward in terms of openly talking about DE&I, but I think we have kind of stalled on making progress over the last decade, um, because I think we are not moving the needle at every level, right? So, for example, there's a lot of work around board leadership positions being more diverse, right? So, you see a lot of women getting into boards, which is awesome, but we're not working at every level, right? You need to work the diversity, and I might be biased towards women a little bit, but you need to work the diversity angle at every level, right? We tend to work on visible leadership positions, but we don't do enough to build a pipeline. Whether it starts from middle school outreach to high school efforts to collegiate efforts, leading all the way to build that strong pipeline of women in STEM. If we don't do that, then we will only see pockets of improvement, and that's why overall, I think we feel like the needle hasn't moved much. Did that answer
I
your
love that.
question?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, did that answer your question? I guess was what I was
Yeah, it did, and I think I really like the fact that you mentioned diversity for the sake of diversity isn't exactly something that's really good, specifically because you do need a candidate that can fit in the job, but you should have measures in place specifically that can help you attract, retain, and hire talented individuals from a diverse pool. So thank you so much for sharing that, and that definitely did answer my question. Ashwini, what is your role as an advanced engineering manager? What does your role entail? And can you tell us more about your leadership experience specifically?
Yeah, I can talk more broadly as well about my leadership journey in the automotive industry. So obviously, I've made my journey from an individual contributor to being a team leader, then a manager, then a director, to now where I am. I think one thing that if I look back in my career journey and think about some pivotal moments that crafted my leadership journey, I would probably say there are a few. One, I think for sure, is when I created the women's resource group at a previous company of mine called ZF. I saw a need for myself. It came out of a selfish place, but I saw a need for myself and wanted to build my tribe. But I ended up finding that it was just not a need for me, it was a need for the entire community. So that was a big learning moment to say, you have to stop thinking about the job as just how you impact it and how it impacts you. Your job actually impacts everybody around you. So you need to be able to be aware of how the tribe is coming together, because the more people come together and lift each other up, the higher you can go as well. And I have seen that in my case. And now, as my side gig around being president of a nonprofit organization called Automotive Women's Alliance Foundation. The nonprofit org has been around for 20 plus years, but we are focused and determined to help women advance in the automotive industry through advocacy and allyship, right? So I think what I'm trying to get to is, yes, my journey has been really rewarding, but it hasn't happened just because I have found the opportunity and I'm the only talented one. There's been a lot of people that have enabled my journey to be where it is today. And I want to be an enabler for other people as well. And that's precisely what Automotive Women's Alliance Foundation does. And we want to be that enabler for other women in the automotive industry in all phases of their careers, not just at the collegiate level. Like I said, it's about building that strong pipeline from the college level all the way to the leadership pipeline. So I think if we don't focus on the advocacy and the allyship, it'll be a big miss. So if there's any ask to your listeners, I think if you are an ally, you'll have questions about whether you should be an ally. Please jump in. Please be an ally because the women need you. The women need the allies to be able to thrive and stay within the workforce and fulfill their career goals, whatever they might be.
That is beautiful. Just the way you summed everything up, it's always a full circle where if you're an enabler in someone else's journey, they might be an enabler in someone else's journey because of the way you contribute to their life. So it's absolutely wonderful the work that you did, how you realized that there was a need specifically for you, but then the first step that you took allowed other people to realize that they were in a similar boat, and now you are leading a nonprofit organization that's allowing people to break into an industry that was predominantly dominated by men. So kudos to you, Ashwini. Last question, Ashwini, which is specifically centered around hiring. I don't know if you're allowed to mention that, but is your company currently hiring within your current team specifically? So if people are looking for jobs, they know what to apply for.
So I think in terms of my company itself, I'm not the official spokesperson, so I'm not going to talk about that specifically. But what I can tell you is I'm a pretty open networker. I mentor a lot of people through the Society of Women Engineers, through Automotive Women's Alliance Foundation, and through just general industry connections. So if anyone's looking for support or me to be an enabler for their career journey, I'm more than happy to help make connections or find ways to help their career journey, whether it's resume critiquing or helping prep for an interview. More than happy to be an enabler for any of that.
Okay, Ashwini, thank you so much for coming on the show, for your helpful heart towards others, because you really do realize that you want to make an impact on someone's life. People like you do make the world a better place, specifically because you're taking out time of your day just to help make people feel at ease, specifically during such a hard time when so many people are being laid off. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, no problem, and thanks for asking me. I really appreciate it, Manal.